So just to let everyone know, this meeting is being recorded.
Well, it's now 5 o'clock, so I want to be mindful of everyone's time. Good evening, everyone. I hope everybody has been being safe out here with all the snow and the COVID and all those good things. And thank you so much for joining our meeting this evening. We have a lot to discuss this evening, but we are going to be very mindful of everybody's time. Shelley, when you get a chance, can you put the agenda up, please? Thank you so much.
Posted a link to it in the chat.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen.
Oh, gee. Ooh, these people just
Shelley.
run out in front of you.
Can everyone see the screen?
Yeah, I'm driving, but I see it though.
Okay. So we're going to, Shelley and Commissioner Leon will be doing a presentation on and giving us a few updates on things that have been going on since the last time we spoke. So welcome back, everybody, and Happy New Year. We're really excited to be back and to do some good work this year. We've got a lot going on. So without further ado, we're going to start with our updates. Shelley or Sharm?
Commissioner Leon, you want to start with Nicole?
Sure. So last month, oh gosh, I can't remember. The time has gotten away from me if it was November, December. We went to Arizona for the National Association on Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement. Two of our Leaders of Tomorrow members went, and Shelley and myself and Commissioner Terry Eccles attended. A lot of good workshops, a lot of good information on training around civilian oversight. We made a lot of connections. Quite a number of the police commissions and other oversight bodies across the nation were very interested in the Leaders of Tomorrow project that we have going on here and are looking to replicate that in their areas for young adults serving alongside the commissioners in this work. So we thought that was amazing. And yeah, so if we get something written up, we'll have it up on the website, and we will also put a link for the upcoming community policing conference that's going to be held in, I think it's in Ann Arbor, Michigan, in April as well. So those are my updates for that. Anything anyone wanted to add? I don't know if Micah or Omar are on the call. They are our two Leaders of Tomorrow participants that attended.
They're not on this call, but I did want to share something as well. Again, the conference was fantastic. Arizona was beautiful. I didn't think that I would ever want to spend any time in a desert, but the desert was beautiful, especially in December. One of the things that kind of stuck with me from this conference was that in Berkeley, California, they do something that we don't do necessarily with our board. Their director does something with their board. They actually give them a 40-hour training. And those trainings are particular to the responsibilities and duties that their board will have to do. Some of the things that they're trained on are things such as due process and concepts of due process and constitutional rights. And so I kind of brought that back to our executive director, Jason Goodrick, because I thought it was a fantastic idea. So hopefully in the near future, because of issue 24 and all the new responsibilities, once issue 24 is fully implemented, our board too will have a lot of responsibilities that I believe they should be trained on. So that would, of course, be up to the board, the kinds of trainings that would need to be implemented. And one other thing that she did was the trainings were done by agencies out in the community that were particular to those kinds of that area. And so we certainly have enough community resources available to us here in Cleveland that we could put together a really good training for our board. So those.
I have a question, Madam Chair, if I might.
Mhm.
Was the city invited to this meeting?
I don't want to say that we invited it. Jason kind of shared it with us. This is something that the commission has been going to for a couple of years now.
No,
And
I'm sorry. I poorly asked question. I'm talking about to our meeting this evening.
oh, hmm.
Is this one of the meetings where you guys meet with the city and the Community Relations Board?
No, this is our CPOP meeting. So this is it's a community meeting, and no, it's not it's not like a quarterly meeting.
Mr. C, just so you know, right, so this is our work group, our community work group meeting on CPOP, but we often have, just like you see the officers here, we've had commanders attend. This is a standing meeting, and so it's every month at this time, but they are represented. And we also have the new recruitment manager on tonight as well, so excited about that, but yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate the clarity. I think I'm confusing this meeting with the standing meeting that you guys have with Johnny Johnson and the folks from the city. I thought it was that particular meeting.
Right, no, sir.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Kelly, this training, the conference the NACO conference that you went to, is that going to be similar to the training that's in April with CPOP? Were they talking about different trainings that would be the same as that conference, or is it totally different?
So I want to say that the NACO conference is, again, this is it is for everyone. It's for law enforcement officers, it's for civilians, it's for people who do this kind of work, civilian oversight practitioners. The problem-oriented policing conference is going to be held in April. That conference is, I want to say, pretty particular to officers, but it again is about problem-oriented policing. Hold on, I think I have if I can pull it up on my screen so I can show you just some of the workshops that will be there.
Can I ask a question?
Yes. Brenda, did you have a question?
Yeah, I got a question in the comment too. Okay, I know the families, and I think I shared that with you, Ms. Williams, and Jason is aware of this too, and Mr. C. We did a rewrite of the CPOP information, like back in 2018, and did a press conference. I'm just, because I've looked on the docket when they filed stuff on that. I'm curious, where did our information go? What happened to that? What happened to that? That was supposed to be, from my knowledge, implemented information that the families did. We met like 8 weeks down at the office, down on Perkins, and put together what they had already did with the 34 pages, because we said it was too long and it was redundant. So we did it, condensed it, but we condensed it to where it would make sense.
Monitor C, might you be able to speak to that? Because that was something else we're going to talk about here. I see that in December of 2021, you guys filed with the courts another CPOP GPO, and I guess it's going to be, adopted and implemented.
If I, and I'm not sure I understand Miss Bickerstaff's question,
Okay,
but I'll
okay.
take a shot
Let's
at it.
see.
If you
Back
think
in two,
you may, I'm
back
sorry, go
in
ahead.
back in 2018, myself, Samaria Rice, Serge met at the office. We went over they had a CPOP pamphlet that they did, Johnny Johnson, which was 34 pages. We went through that. That was way too long. It was not getting to the point of the meat of what CPOP is supposed to do. So the families, we got together for 8 weeks and we put together within 7 or 8 pages. We put together information pertaining to juveniles, pertaining to mental health, just a lot of, I don't have it in front of me, a lot of different points about CPOP and the interaction with the police officers. What I'm concerned about, and I sent you a copy, Mr. C. I sent everybody a copy. Now, maybe the new commissioners may not be aware of it, but this actually occurred. And we had a deadline back then in 2018. I think we had to have it in by September the 23rd or something like that. And what I'm looking on the stuff that we done, none of it.
Okay.
So yes, I have a copy of it here. You guys submitted it September 25th, 2018.
And
So
who was it? If I might ask, to whom was it? To whom was it submitted?
It was filed with the courts.
I submitted it to you, and you said you was going to talk to, I guess, whoever was in charge at the time. I think the gentleman was, no, Aiden wasn't here. It was the other gentleman that was here. He was one of the other monitors, like the head monitor. He left.
Matthew Barge.
Right. You said you was going to submit it. Because we had asked you to get some more time, and I think you couldn't give us more time. So we pressed on and we sent you a copy of it. And we did a press conference on it with News Channel 5.
I will have to go back and take a look. If it was,
Well, Ms. Williams said she had a copy of
normally,
it because I sent it to her.
yeah, it wouldn't be, you see, you probably gave me a copy. It would not have been submitted to me. You probably
No, I
gave me
gave you a copy, Mr. C.
right,
I
I
think you
believe
said
you.
you
If
was
you
gonna
say you did, I
talk
believe you.
to,
Yeah,
right. You said you was
but
gonna give it to the monitor, which was Matthew Barge at the time, to take a look at that. And I guess my concern is we, the families, have put a lot of hard work into the CPOP. And, from my understanding that the work group is still working on CPOP when we had already sent in stuff about CPOP.
let me, and I'm guessing at the moment, and I will go back and track it. But if you gave it to me and I said I had given it to Barge, I would bet the farm that is what I did.
Yeah,
And knowing Matthew then would have submitted it on to the city for consideration, and the city would have taken a look at it, included whatever it thought appropriate to include, and then submitted it on to the court. Now, I am not certain that that is what happened. However, that would have been the process that I would have thought that they would have followed. That's the process of all previous other recommendations. The work group works on them, they submit them, they go over to the city takes a look at them, they say, okay, this will include, this we will not. Everything did not get included. So what happened with that, I'm not sure, but I can go back and trace that.
yeah, because the other family members was asking me about that, and I couldn't give them a definitive answer because I didn't see where they did anything with it.
Yeah.
I didn't see none of that on the docket. So my concern is, what's the purpose of us participating and engaging in these activities if they're not going to take what we've done on face value? That's my point.
Right. Well, as I indicated, the city receives recommendations on all of the policies. Some like with the search and seizure. You know, there were this is an example. If there were 40 recommendations, they may have accepted 20 of those. With the recommendations that you guys made, which I don't remember at this moment, but they would have looked at it, selected what, let's say if you submitted 10, they may have accepted 3, the other 7 just didn't get accepted. But I don't know that for a fact, but that's the process. And I will go back and see if in fact that is what happened. And if you,
Because my issue is, I mean, you have these meetings with the CPOP, which is, that's what they're supposed to do, I'm assuming. I know they are, but we're the voices and input of the families. And that's one of the biggest issues that we have. That's why we proceeded with issue 24, because the families have no say so. They listen, yeah, but they don't act on it. And that's one of the reasons why we stepped out and tried to reach out to the powers that be, and they just keep ignoring us. See, that's why we did what we did.
Right. And here's what I know, that there are some exceptionally good work groups that make a variety of recommendations. All of the recommendations don't get accepted. Some do, some don't.
I understand that, but if they didn't get accepted,
I'm sorry.
If they didn't get accepted, we should have been notified of that. We should be asking, why didn't they get accepted? We didn't do that just because we feel that we are here to waste our time. See, that's the problem that I got with this consent decree. Okay, it was written up. They said they was going to sue. They want the changes. We're doing the changes. But it's like they want to see how long we're going to hang on before they feel that they're going to do what they want to do. See, that's the problem.
And if I might just jump in there once for a second, I believe what happened, your filing was late in 2018. That was at the onset of COVID, which upset the entire world. And so now that we're starting to get back to some normalcy, people are starting to follow up, and that's exactly what we can do, is follow up with, what happened.
Let me just say this, Ms. Williams, that's not true. We sent that in September of 2018. COVID didn't come about till a year later in March of 2019. That's when COVID came. When we sent that information back in September, we sent that information in before we did the press conference. We did the press conference around October the 2nd, somewhere in October. So that paperwork was already sent in because we had a deadline, and I don't have it in front of me, but if I sent it to you, at the bottom of that last page should have September and a date on it, and the time that I submitted it.
Yeah, September 25th at 1 p.m.
There you go. That was our deadline. We had to have that in by that day, or they was not going to accept anything after that. That was it. So the issue is,
if I could please.
And Ms. Bickerstaff, just for clarity, now you said that had to be submitted. Those documents would not have been submitted to me. That would have been shared. They might have been shared.
Hold on one second. Okay, let's say this. I understand. Let me clarify the wording so nobody gets confused. When I say submitted, I submitted the information to you, and you did what you needed to do with it. You contacted us personally and said the deadline was on that date, and it was at that time, and we had to have it in by 1 o'clock that day. So we had to give it to you, not the court. We didn't give it to the court. We gave it to you. And you did what you needed to do to pass it on.
Okay. Well, let me go back, because if I say it, and as I said, I'd bet the farm that if I said I was going to do a certain thing with it, that I did that. Yeah,
Right.
such an important transaction would not have gotten by me. So if you were to give it, because normally documents don't get submitted to me. I get copied on documents so I can follow them. So if someone gave a deadline by which time documents should have been submitted, whoever issued the deadline, the documents should have been submitted to them. But let me go back
But
and
wait
I
a
will
minute,
certainly.
Mr. C, let's get one thing clear. You the one who gave us that deadline and that time. You did. You said that they were not accepted after that. And whatever you did with it at that particular time, I'm pretty sure you did, like you said, you did what you needed to do. But I don't want to, hold up the meeting about this, but I just wanted to throw that out there because we did a lot of hard work on this.
I
Actually,
Yeah,
believe
it's
you.
it's unfortunate,
see,
Brenda. Yeah, that a lot of times the
no, Ryan, I and Harriet are the co-chairs of this
Okay.
group. Okay, so the point is made, well put, understood. One of the things that's in our agenda for tonight is to go over the GPO, the CPOP GPO that was submitted. We will follow up with exactly what you're talking about, Ms. Biggerstaff, because that is exactly right. The concerns that you raised about whether or not community input was being included in the final drafts of work. My understanding is that the CPOP plan is a living document. When I came on, because of the efforts to include community voice into the plan were not being forwarded, we created a task group. It kind of dissolved at the end of last year. We have not had a stakeholders meeting with the monitoring team, DOJ, and the co-chairs of this group yet. Since then, I think a number of things were in play. The changing of administration, people deciding to opt out of participation. What we will need going forward is a running log of those engagements and responses. We will do that going forward. And so I understand everyone's frustration in it. And to your point, a lot of that frustration is what culminated into the new legislation. So
I mean, I'm not frustrated. I'm just asking a question because I'm just kind of concerned of, I'm not here to waste my time. And I
yeah,
know the other family members is not here to waste it. It took me tooth and nail to get the two to participate that we have, Alicia Kirkman and Samaria Rice. That we're trying to get more with other families to get in. And I don't want to pull them in if the Department of Justice in the city of Cleveland think this is a joke. Because that's where I'm at with this. They must think this is a joke. This is not a joke.
okay. So let's talk about
Madam
some
Chairman,
next steps.
Madam
I'm
Chairman,
sorry, who is that?
might I ask the staff, Miss Williams, if you can find the document that's being referenced here, if you would forward that to me, and Miss Bickerstaff, if you have a communication between you and I in which I asked for you to submit it to me and you did that, if you would forward that to me, I'd appreciate that, and I will get right on that.
Will
We
do,
appreciate
Monitor
that.
C.
Thank you,
Thank you
Monitor
both.
C.
Thank you both very much. Because
Thank
I
you.
concur with the chairman that we definitely want a robust community voice.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey,
Um,
Alicia.
Hi, Brenda.
Thanks, Brenda.
Shelley, would you like to pick up where we were, please, with the training?
Oh, wait a minute.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So again, the CPOP training is going to be different than the NACOL training because this is more particular to problem-oriented policing. And that's where, again, police and community problem solve together. The civilian oversight kind of taught civilians, gave them tools in their tool belt as to what oversight should look like. How to go out into the community and further that work, how to become, expert practitioners of civilian oversight. And so these are some of the sessions that will be held during this conference. One of the things that I really wanted to do, because we here at the CPC, myself, Commissioner Leon and Commissioner Hatley, along with two of our lot members, hopefully Samantha and James will be joining us on this at this conference. What I thought would be an excellent idea would be for the division to be represented at the conference as well. Maybe one or two officers from each of the districts might see fit to get sponsored to go. And so I would like to forward this to your commanders or lieutenants or even the chief to see if this is something that we can all attend together. I think it would just strengthen us again with this work with CPOP.
Thank you, that would. That's in April, right? Okay.
It is April 24th through the 27th in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, where was that? Where was that at?
Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I can put the link in the chat.
Thank you.
Would the families be able to participate in this conference?
Absolutely.
Thank
What
you.
day is that on?
I think it's like a Monday through a Wednesday.
April.
Mm.
Maybe Ryan, maybe you can put it in the chat. I can't get to the chat right now. I can't get to the chat. And I also wanted to, because the last meeting that we held, unless Commissioner Leon, you want to update them on the community cares project.
Is Chief Hill here? We have Chief Hill in the meeting tonight.
I think so.
You on the call?
I think our time is going to be stretched. I think we would be better served to go through the GPO presentation for CPOP, and if we have time at the end, we can revisit that. But
Okay.
let's do CPOP business first.
Okay. And so in 2019, there was a CPOP GPO, and we say GPO, that means a general policing order filed with the courts. And then it was filed again, it was updated and filed on December 16, 2021. So just a month ago, a new filing was made. And the GPOs, the GPOs kind of outline how officers are to go about doing the work of CPOP. And so it goes through each section and outlines again in great detail how officers are to carry out doing community and problem-oriented policing. And so I just wanted to kind of give a very brief overview of this new filing that was done in December, because one of the things that we've done since we've been back to work, when we came back to work in June, that was summertime, we were out in the community, talking with the community, we did a community survey, and what we are finding, as we talk to community members and as we, went through the results of the survey, is that community members felt that police presence was not enough in their communities, where they lived. And so this GPO, it outlines again in great detail how police officers are going to do two different things, how they're going to do community engagement and also how they're going to do problem-oriented policing. So I just wanted to give a brief overview of it because, again, community members need to know what they are looking for if we are, to be looking for a change. If someone asks you to take a survey, you need to know what it is that you're looking for so that you can accurately, answer the survey. One of the community members, we asked her to take a survey and she said, I didn't know what I was looking for, so I can't evaluate fairly police officers on this survey because I didn't know that I was supposed to be looking for X, Y, and Z. So I think it's very important for community members to be, educated and aware of what it is that we're looking for, because the true measure of success in all of this is if the community members feel a difference. We can check off boxes all day long, but if we don't feel the difference, then it's all for naught. And so the rationale, the reasoning behind the GPO is that CPD will develop and implement a system to monitor officers' outreach to the community. Okay, because we want to be able to measure that. CPD will use the method to analyze whether officers are partnering with a broad cross-section of community members to develop and implement cooperative strategies that build mutual respect and identify and solve problems. So that's, in a nutshell, kind of what the crux of CPOP is. Police and community partnering together. Okay, and when we say community, a broad cross-section, that's the religious sector, that's educational sector, that's a broad cross-section of community partners. We're partnering together to develop strategies, one, that's going to build respect, two, identify and solve problems. And just going back to building trust and respect, in order for us to be effective at this partnership, mutual trust and respect has to be had. We had a lot meeting the other day, Leaders of Tomorrow meeting, and one of our lot members said that, and they had some trauma workers come in and talk to some of the students. And one of the first things that the trauma coach said that she wanted the students to do was to write down their deepest, darkest secret on a piece of paper, ball it up, and throw it into the center of the room. When you think about that, it's pretty illogical. I'm not going to tell a complete stranger that I have no relationship with my deepest, darkest secret. Our lot member said this was his brother that was experiencing this. He asked to be excused to go to the bathroom and did not return, and I don't blame him. We don't have a relationship, so I'm not going to just, come forward with information. So in all of this, respect and trust has to be built before we can engage in the business of problem solving and giving our concerns over. Now, the GPO provides specific explanation as to why CPOP is important. Okay, again, the division can't produce a safe community on its own. In the safety meeting that was just had earlier this week, Chief Drummond said that we have, I believe, 1,400 officers, somewhere in that number, 1,400 officers. There are 800 patrol officers that are on the street. I believe we have very near 400,000 residents in the city of Cleveland. So again, police officers cannot produce a safe community by themselves. We must co-produce this safety together. So the division must partner and build relationships across the community to ensure safety and address community concerns. One of the ways the CPOP or this GPO outlines that officers will do that is by ensuring that they spend about 20% of their time engaging with community members. Okay, so all officers, and that's not just patrol officers, that's every officer from the chief all the way down to the mounted unit. All officers have to spend at least 20% of their time engaging with community members. Now, there is a difference between community engagement and problem-oriented policing. And these are some of the examples that you will see officers engaging with when it comes to community engagement. You should see officers doing walks and talks in the neighborhood. I have seen officers, doing walks and talks. First District, they have a coffee with the commander, and they've been moving that coffee with the commander around to several different locations in the First District, so that they get, again, that broad spectrum or cross-section of community members that they engage and talk with. Safety fairs. participating in community events. You know, we saw a lot of that before COVID. And then when we came back within the past 6 months, I have seen community events that officers put on themselves or are engaged in. Bike and foot patrol. I do see the biking, especially I'm in the 3rd district. Our offices are located in 3rd district. I see bike patrol all the time. So I am seeing that. And these are some other examples here. Versus problem-oriented policing. And so when we're looking for problem-oriented policing, we should be looking at working with the police, working with community members to identify and solve sources of community problems. Now, we do have a few officers on the call. I would love for them to kind of expound on what that looks like. Maybe there's some examples that they have done in their day-to-day patrols that where they are employing problem-oriented policing. Are there any officers that might want to give an example of what CPOP looks like?
Hello, this is Lieutenant Tucker. I'm from the 1st District. Can't seem to get my camera up, but my microphone's working. I believe you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you, Lieutenant.
Okay, well, you know, it means a lot of what you said. It's getting out of the cars and walking around the districts and getting to know people in the neighborhoods, whether they be business leaders or, you know, the local rec center in your district. It's engagement, and it is a sense of community, like you said. We can't solve problems on an island. We have to meet each other and do the best we can to bridge gaps and come up with effective solutions to fix things before they become problems, if at all possible.
Thank you so much for that. One of the things that I want to say CPOP looks like, and I'm just, you know, I'm going to kind of put this example out there. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But one of the things that I believe CPOP looks like is, for example, Cleveland Metropolitan School District. Right now, I want to say our high schools especially are kind of like in a state of emergency. There's been a lot of fighting with, you know, our students, and it's not just here, it's definitely across the nation. But one of the things that Chief Hill is trying to do is to help solve that by inviting the community to come in and, you know, assist with bringing the calm back to the school. He wants community members to walk the halls and greet the students, and, you know, have community members kind of look in and check in on classrooms to make sure that, you know, order and you know, order is happening and learning is going on, that the environment becomes, you know, one that is educational again.
Sure.
I would say to go one step further is to provide those wraparound services, and this is where the CPOP, the community, comes into play. We also need to make sure that our schools are staffed with resource workers such as social workers and counselors and mental health and wellness practitioners, so that we saturate our children with what they need. Of course, police presence and officers are necessary. I did have teachers say that, you know, parents are coming up to the school and fighting, you know, with and for their children. And so certainly, sure, you know,
it happens.
You know, officers need to be included in that. But CPOP is, you know, partnering with the community to make sure that we solve this problem so that it never comes up again.
I know if I was a kid in junior high or high school and I saw my neighbor walking down the hallway and I thought they might tell my mom what I was or was not up to, it probably would have affected my behavior.
Absolutely.
A little bit, a different kind of accountability. I like that a lot, actually.
Yes, yes. And so, so that's, you know, that's what CPOP is to me. Where we bring in those community resources that are necessary to, again, solve the problem at its elemental level.
Right.
Excuse me,
Ms.
Shelley.
Williams?
Excuse me. So, can everyone please, if you're not speaking, can you please mute your mic? Because someone is typing or working and it's a loud echo and we can't hear over that. So please let's be very respectful to the speakers. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And then so this next slide, it again shows where officers will now be held accountable for tracking their community engagement and their problem-oriented policing calls. And so there's going to be this data collection form. And I believe also it will be tracked in the CAD system, which is computer-aided dispatching. So the dispatchers will generate a CAD each time that an officer is engaged in community engagement or problem-oriented policing. Now, for me, I would hope that the dispatchers are also receiving training so that they, know what one looks like versus the other. And I'm glad to see that this information will now be aggregated, collected and aggregated, so we can see how effective we're being. Because again, if police officers, all of them, all 800 of them or 1,400 of them, are now required to spend 20% of their time engaging with the community, whether it's community engagement or problem-oriented policing, at the end of this year, we certainly should feel a difference. Okay, so when I go out into the community and I have these conversations with community members or with council members, the data that CPD is collecting should line up with what we're hearing in the community. And then finally, again, the monitoring team has deemed that the division, the police, proposed community problem-oriented policing, GPO, does satisfy the terms of the consent decree. So that's why I was asking Monitor C, is this something that we are absolutely moving forward with?
I'm sorry, I was muted. Ms. Williams, would you repeat the question, please, ma'am?
Yes, this filing that was filed in December of 2021, just a month ago, is this new GPO, the GPO that we are moving forward with? Because it does.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, see that, yeah. See, that's,
Hold on one second, Ms. Brenda, we'll come back. Rosie had her hand raised, and I just want to make sure, because I know it was filed, I don't know that it was approved. Lieutenant Tucker, are you aware?
I'm sorry, I don't have the answer for that either. No.
Yeah, so I think that even though that the monitor made a notation on that filing, Shelley, that they feel that it satisfies the consent decree, that it has not, it hasn't been approved by the judge. So I know that was a concern of yours, Ms. Brenda, and we will be following back up with that at the next meeting. And then also we have some action items that Monitor C mentioned about following up from the previous communications you all had. So let's make those notations for follow up.
see, this the thing. That's been 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. That I'm gonna go through through that docket again too. That's been 4 years ago.
I understand, and we've had so many changes between then and now, not an excuse at all. I'm just saying that, we weren't the same people here. The monitor was different. Now we have a new administration. We have a new, charge that we haven't even, just like even with issue 24, the judge still has to reply to that, and that's not due until February. So we just got a number of things.
No, just to let you know. Now, just to let you know, that's not a finalization on 24. That's not a court date. I've already talked to his assistant. That is just letting him know that the city of Cleveland and the DOJs are in talks.
Yeah.
Concerning 24. So that is not a court date.
Okay. So Thank you. Duly noted. And Ms. Rosie.
Did you call on me, Sharman? I'm sorry, Commissioner
I
Leon.
did. I
Okay.
did.
Yeah, you were asking for examples of community engagement, and I think this is a really good one. In December, the city sent out a press release it was either right before or right after Christmas, saying that Patrol Officer Jimmy Thomas, who's assigned to the Bureau of Community Relations, went on a meet and greet at the Lutheran Metropolitan Ministry Men's Shelter. And they spoke with the residents, and they found out that some of them weren't going to go to Christmas because they were embarrassed they didn't have gifts for their children. So Officer Thomas worked with other officers, and they spearheaded an initiative. They created a target registry for toys, and then the Patrolmen's Association paid to buy toys for these homeless men. And then they came to the shelter. There's pictures of all this, and they gave the men the toys to give to their children, and they were there to help them wrap the gifts. So I thought that was amazing. As a homeless advocate, I was just really touched to see that.
Oh, that was nice. I would be glad when they come and try to do that for us too.
I did want to add to that. In the last couple of years, we've gotten community engagement officers who it is kind of their job to collect things for people in need, whether they be shoes or gloves or coats or food or similar items like Christmas presents. It is something that is ongoing, and it is something that as a division we are doing. So I did want you to, I'm sure you probably are aware of that, but I see them doing things weekly.
Do they do it on the east side of Cleveland?
Every district, ma'am.
Can anyone hear me here?
It's not happening over there in my district.
All
I'm in
right,
District 5.
This meeting
anyone
is
hear me?
getting bigger and bigger. We can hear you, and we have there's if you can't because you're on the phone, you don't have the raise your hand function or whatever, or the chat function. You are coming up as calling user 2. I will call on you right after Ms. Goldsby, who's got her hand up.
Oh, thank you.
You got it.
Thank you, Chair Leon. Just to comment about the community engagement aspect of policing, we've seen symbolic gestures of solidarity and support throughout, the demand or the change for police reform. We've seen it take place across the country. And one of those symbolic gestures is we've seen cities paint Black Lives Matter in the streets in their cities without really creating transformative legislation and policies that will really directly impact the community. So when we talk about community engagement, I'm looking for more than just social engagements or ice cream with cops and tea and crumpets with cops. I'm looking for something substantive, something that I can put my hands on, something that I can feel and see within my community. Having those little symbolic gestures of solidarity, that looks good for photo ops.
Thank you.
It does nothing to improve the quality of life within our community. So when we're talking about real engagement, we want to see folks that look like us at the tables having these conversations with folks that are making the recommendations and the requirements or legislations that's going to be impacting our lives. So kudos to them for buying toys and things like that for the less unfortunate, but we need more than that. We need to really address why those men were in those housing shelters in the first place and not having the services that they need to be able to care for their families in the first place. And that's
Thank you. Thank you. And some of them have criminal cases pending right now.
Yes, ma'am. So thank you so much. And again, these are standing meetings every month, and we have spoken directly to your concern, Ms. Goldsby, about things not just being performative, there's a balance in that, and that's why Ms. Williams talked about actually feeling the difference, seeing the number and the disparities regarding policing outcomes reduce. And so absolutely, we echo your statement and balance it at the same time with saying, just as Ms. Brenda did, kudos, that was wonderful. We love that. We're not saying that needs to stop. We're just saying, and also this needs to happen as well. Calling user number 2.
Good evening. This is Officer Jones from the 3rd District. I'm a community engagement officer. You know what? I tried to get in on the link, and for some reason I couldn't get in on the link, so I'm calling in. This is my first time calling in, so I didn't know how to.
You know, I can't hear. It's real low.
Okay, I'll try to.
We can hear. We're here.
I can't hear. It's real low.
He's calling in, Miss Brenda. So I'm maybe the phone doesn't transfer real well. But it's Officer Jones in the 3rd, and he's sharing that he couldn't come in with the link. But we'll go ahead and let him finish, and I'll try my best to do a summary in the chat.
Well, thank you, Ms. Shelley. Real quick, I just wanted to confirm, you know, the implementation that you were talking about that were taking place, you know, with the CAD system and everything. You hit it right on the nose. You know, when officers have an opportunity to engage with the community, we call radio for a CAD. They give us a CAD, and then at some point we enter it into our tracking system, and we actually put in, you know, it has a lot of demographics that we have to put in there, number of people, that sort of thing. So that is happening. And I'm a community engagement officer, so, you know, 90% of my time is engaging with the community. And there are 3 of us in each district, you know, and our job essentially is to kind of bridge the gap between the community and law enforcement. Get out there, get you know, make people familiar with our faces. So, like you said, so there's a relationship, and things that may not come forward sometimes come forward. Also, it gives them an ear or a reachable person to actually talk to, instead of just leaving a message somewhere or getting a runaround through the system. They can actually call one of us and talk to us directly. And if I can't help them, then I'll navigate them through the system to help them. So I just want to confirm everything that you were saying, that stuff is taking place now.
Thank you so much, Officer Jones. I do have a question for all of the officers that are on the line right now. When you guys, so I attend the DPC meetings, and at the beginning of each DPC meeting, you know, there's a crime report that is always given, you know, the number of guns that have been taken off the street, number of burglaries, robberies, you know, rapes, homicides, you know, we get, you know, these numbers. Now that we have this CPOP GPO that is being implemented, can we also add to that report out, you know, what kind of community engagement and CPOP activities have taken place, you know, throughout the month as well? And also, because it now is being tracked, can we know who is tracking it, or can we, you know, this CPOP team, can we be privy to that information?
Well, Shelley, that would be, you know, that would be above my class, but I could definitely, I don't know if the lieutenant has anything to add to that, but I can definitely take that to Commander Todd and see what can be done. I mean, it is being tracked, so I don't see why we couldn't get get some numbers off of that. You know what I mean? So I will definitely forward her that question and get back with you.
I would, Lieutenant Tucker again. I would say yes, that information would be available. I don't see why it wouldn't be. We're tracking what our officers are doing, whether they're you know, just a consensual encounter, assisting someone, or if it's more law enforcement related. So transparency is what we're going for.
Just to reiterate, I used to work in the 5th district, and they have done a lot of good community engagement, because we used to work work side by side. So as someone has in the comment section, there's a lot going on that are not photo ops. Because a lot of times it may seem like, you know, it doesn't matter. It's a bigger picture and a bigger problem. But just forming those relationships are very important. And that's a good start to building the trust within the communities because you're working together and you're seeing each other. And that's when the conversation actually begins. So I believe in that. Lieutenant Tucker, when you had stated, you know, that there are a lot of different things going on, even with, and I was down at the Target when the police were loading up the truck. So I was out there and saw that, and I was wondering what was going on. But there are a lot of things, there's still a lot of work to be done. There is to bridge that gap, but there are things happening right now. So I just wanted to say that.
And Harriet, I'd like to add to that too. Hi, I'm Lieutenant Beckner from the 2nd District. The majority of the things that are going on, officers do not want the photo op. They don't want their picture taken. They don't want to be put in the paper. They don't want to be interviewed by things. They just want to do the things and move along. They don't want those photo ops. So to think or even hint that officers are doing it because we have to or we're looking for that that photo op is just plain false. It's not true. It's probably the opposite.
I agree with that.
I agree with that too, Lieutenant.
Hey, Sam, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Samantha Montanez, and I'm of the Leaders of Tomorrow work group under the CPC. I'm glad to be here with you all. Just a quick, well, I don't know if it's quick. I talk a lot, but I'll make it quick. I think that we know that there's work being done, and that we know and understand that not everything is done for a photo op. But what I think happens is there's a disconnect, right, in between what we see, which is obviously controlled by the media, and we cannot control what news outlets put out, right? We cannot control if it's a negative news release or a positive news release, et cetera, et cetera. However, we also can't argue with data. And so if data is showing that there are higher rates of police brutality in certain neighborhoods and in certain communities, and people are learning that and understanding that, there's like a sense of cognitive dissonance between that, right? And what they are understanding when they see those photos of, you know, officers doing good things. We know I know plenty of officers, even officers my age, who do things because they want to do it, not for the photo op, not for anything, which that's wonderful. But there's also this disconnect where, but look at what I see in my everyday life. Um, Look at what I see every day walking down the street. So sometimes it's hard for people, especially in neighborhoods or in demographics that are heavily targeted, though not maybe specifically targeted, they statistically tend to be targeted. It's hard for them to see how engaged in the community officers really are. And it sometimes feels like a slap in the face when it is only ever shown through these photo ops. So I think that we are understanding that there are things happening behind the scenes. It's just sometimes there's this great disconnect, and I think um, it's important for all of us to be understanding that there is this disconnect. And sorry if I cut out anywhere in between that. Please let me know if there was something that I said that you all missed. My Wi-Fi went out, which is why I just turned my camera off. But that's all I wanted to say, was that there is sometimes a really large disconnect between what an individual sees on a daily versus what might actually be happening. And so we have to keep that in mind when these comments or these concerns are being made and heard out.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? Or Rosie, is your hand up? Rosie?
Yeah, you know, I have to leave and I'm a documenter. I have to go to a documenter's training, but I would just like everyone to be mindful of crisis intervention. I've been a member of the City of Cleveland Mental Health Response Advisory Committee for more than 6 years. It was a mandate to be created under the consent decree. And literally for years, I've been asking in our meetings, how is community engagement going to interact with crisis intervention, because officers are going to likely at some point encounter somebody having a mental health crisis. And I haven't gotten any answers. And I will say I was disappointed in the first CPOP GPO. I need to look at the latest one. But it threw in the word homeless and the phrase mental illness somewhere, but there just seems to be no actual strategy around that. So I just hope in the future the department will look at how to kind of marry those two topics. But thank you very much for having this meeting, and I'm sorry I have to leave early.
Thank you, Rosie. Does anyone else have any questions or concerns? Shelley, what's next on our agenda?
So I did want to say that last month, Commissioners Leon, Commissioner Hatley, Brenda Bickerstaff, and we have another commissioner, Commissioner LaToya Logan. They were invited to speak about the Cleveland Police Commission on a radio show. It's a local radio show, WOVU, which is, I forget the actual numbers on, I think 95.9 or something like that. But it's located right here in the heart of Cleveland on East 73rd, off of East 73rd and Kinsman, I believe it is. And we had excellent, very robust conversation about the consent decree, about issue 24, about what lies ahead for the CPC. We've been invited to come back on the 25th, that's next Tuesday, and to continue the conversation. And so if there's anything that any questions that anyone has right now, any concerns or things that they might want mentioned during this conversation, please let us know, so we can take it to the broader community. And if you don't think of anything now, I know it's hard to think of on the spot,
Madam,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Madam Chairman, if I might. Ms. Williams, can you repeat the date and time again, please, ma'am?
Yes, it will be January 25th at 1 p.m. That's when the show airs. So I encourage everyone to listen. I'll put that in the chat as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Shelley, is there anything else on our agenda?
There is. The last thing that we kind of wanted to kind of talk about, again, we've been having a lot of conversation around this, but a while ago, there was what's called the Citizen's Guide to the Consent Decree that was put out by Case Western Reserve University. And because the consent decree is about 104, 106 pages of, very industry specific jargon that can kind of become inundating to the layperson, there was this Citizen's Guide to the Consent Decree put out. And so that it's more user-friendly, we can understand better what the consent decree means. We were thinking about creating something very similar to that, a citizen's guide to CPOP, or maybe a citizen's guide to issue 24, and kind of wanted to, put that into the room and get your thoughts on that.
I'm sorry, could you briefly restate the question?
Yes. So again, we have currently what's called a Citizen's Guide to this consent decree, and that really condenses the consent decree. Like I said, it makes it digestible for a person like me, Jane Doe, who may not understand all the legalese of a consent decree. And so we wanted to do something like that for the CPOP plan, or for issue 24, because again, they seem to be these abstract concepts that, if we could just kind of, again, water them down a little bit so that they're more user-friendly for the citizens in the community to understand. It might help a lot.
I would say that, yes, I would agree with that. I think from an accessibility standpoint that is necessary, given the fact that most individuals, at least with here in the city of Cleveland, and I'm sure statistics can show and research can show that reading levels, comprehension levels, literacy levels are not to the standard of understanding a very long plan, which that goes down another rabbit hole of our education system. But for the sake of accessibility, yes, that is needed, because we want all citizens, not just those who can comprehend this type of wording and these documents. We want all citizens to be able to understand what's happening and what is going on within their city. And also on the note of accessibility, if this is something that is going to be looked into, we also need to look into other modes of sharing this information. So making it accessible in different languages, accessible for individuals who are who cannot see. So we're offering this in Braille. Do we offer it in sign language when we're having, community forums about this? And just really making sure accessibility is at the core of when we do things that are meant to go out to the community. So on the base level, yes, this needs to be done so it's comprehensible and comprehensible for all, but then take it a step further so that not just those who benefit from understanding that little bit, all individuals benefit from reading and learning about this and understanding it.
Nicely said. Nicely said.
And so, yes, if that's something that we would like to undertake in this work group, we would have to, again, create a plan for, rolling that out. How does it look? Who works on it? What is the time frame? And so we would, I guess, table that for another discussion. Maybe next time we'll put that on the agenda.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, if I might, and Ms. Williams, I concur with the last observations, and particularly around a citizen's guide to the understanding of the issue 24. I think that's going to be invaluable once we get an understanding of it.
Do we have any more questions or concerns that anyone wants to share at this time? And Shelley, have we finished the item, everything that we needed to talk about on our agenda? Well, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time out to share with us, to have this open dialogue, because this is something that is very needed in our community. And this CPOP is even a first step. So I just want to say thank you all again. Our next meeting will be February 17th. I hope to see you all there. Please have a safe night. And I believe it's snowing again, and try to stay warm.
Commissioner, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm down for giving people back their time, right? And ending early is all right with me, but I don't want to leave a hand up on the table.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't see that.
I'm glad she raised her hand because I'd like for her to introduce herself to everyone, and hopefully we'll see a lot more of her going forward.
Absolutely. I am so sorry, Ms. Neville. Please. We can't hear you.
No, you got to come off mute if you can see how to do that. No. We can't hear you.
I do apologize about that. I don't know what's going on.
We can hear you now. Maybe your bandwidth is tight. So yeah, the video off, mute, then we can hear you.
Can you hear me now? Okay, so it has something to do with the starting of the video. Good evening, everyone. My name is Janet Nevels. I'm with the City of Cleveland Department of Public Safety, and I am the new recruitment manager. The former recruitment manager was, of course, Sergeant Leon, who had done a phenomenal job. So I don't know. I know that I cannot replace her, but I wanted to attend the meeting, and of course, I need to be part of this meeting as well. I want to be visible, and I want to be part of it. And I've enjoyed the discussions, which were very, very interesting. I do want to get a copy of your GPO, your CPOP GPO, and like to get on your list whenever your next meeting is going to be held. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. No
okay.
worries.
Yes,
Okay.
and if you could just put your information in the chat, and then we can copy it to our list.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any other questions, or anyone else have anything to say before we close? I don't want to forget anybody. Okay, well, good night. And thank you, officers, for taking the time out to be with us tonight. And hopefully you can join us on the 17th, because this is the dialogue that we want. So everybody gets a clear perspective on both sides. And together we can make this happen. So
Thank you. Glad to be here.
so thank you so much, and have a wonderful evening.
You too. Take
Thank
care.
Take care, absolutely.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Miss Williams, would you give me a call when your schedule permits, Miss Williams?
Yes, yes, I will.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a good evening, all. Be safe. Thank you for your service.
Good night.
Good night.